In this video, we're going to look at formatting console output using printf. So I have a small example program here. I've defined an integer called number of items and set its value to 7. I've set a double called amount and its value is 582.59275. And then I've went ahead and done a system.out.println that says the number of items is, and it concatenates the number of items, and it concatenates the words and the amount is, and then it prints out the amount. So let's go ahead and run that. And it prints out the number of items is 7, and the amount is 582.59275. That's all well and good. But what if I want to do something to this? Maybe I only want 2 digits. Maybe it's supposed to be a number of some kind. How do I take care of this problem? So I can convert amount to strings. I could use string.format. I could do some rounding using some rounding functions, but there's a shorter way. So we're going to look at that now. So this is the original line. Let's make a new one. So we're going to do a system.out.println printf. Okay. And here it says we have to supply a format and we have to supply some arguments when we do this. So what would be the format? Well, format would be basically printing out what we want to see. So I'm just going to put quotes in here. I'm going to say we're going to rebuild the line above this. The number of items is. Now, rather than close my quotation marks, I am going to put a placeholder in here. And the placeholder I am going to use is a %, followed by a D. Now, a D is a code, technically stands for decimal integer, and I hate that term because does it have decimals or is it an integer? I like to think of it as digits. Wherever we put there is going to be digits, and it's not going to have any decimal places. So I think of that D code. That's how I remember the D code. You remember it however you want. But it's basically a placeholder for an integer. And that basically says at some point I'm going to give you an integer to substitute for this. So then I'm going to continue my sentence. And the amount is. And then I'm going to do the same thing where my amount's going to go. I can put another placeholder. It always starts with a %. And let's start by doing this. I'm going to put 8.2f. And the f says that this item we're going to substitute in here will be a floating point number of some kind. And then let's go over here to the arguments. Now the arguments are where we start specifying what the compiler should substitute back in here. So for this one, I want to substitute the number of items. So I put my number of items variable in there. Forgot my semicolon. So it's going to substitute number of items for the first placeholder, and then I can continue to list different things to substitute. For the second placeholder, that's where I want to do the amount. Okay. So the first item here gets substituted there. The amount is going to get substituted here. And then I'll explain these codes a little bit more after we run this. So the number of items is 7. This is our original one. And this is our second one. It says the number of items is 7 and the amount is 582.59. All right, and I'll explain why that is in a second, but the other thing you should notice here is that printf does not put a new line character in. So we can add that in if we'd like. Try that. Actually, I like to use %n anyway. See if that works. %n. Probably I did a forward slash instead of a backslash. That would also work. %n is better for cross-platform things, supposedly. So I tend to use that because we're already using percents in here. So when I want to make sure this does a new line, I just add a %n on the end. And again, we could add more things after this too. We could add more words, whatever we wanted. But I just wanted to end it. All right, so let's look at these format codes. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this print line now that we've seen how this works. So decimals don't have a decimal integers. Digits don't have a lot of options. We're going to be printing out an integer. There's not a lot of options we can do with that. We can do some specifications with it, but usually we don't. So I'm going to do most of the demonstration on the floating point number. So after the % on the floating point number, I put an 8. And that's basically saying we want this number to fill up 8 spots. We want to use 8 positions with 2 of the positions being decimal places. So my number only had 3 whole numbers, and then we limited it to 2 decimal places by putting the 2 after the decimal here. So that doesn't look right because I have these extra spaces in here. So I could try and change this number to get it to look right. Change it to 5.2. And I think I still have 2 spaces in there. Let's change it to 4.2. I think that's okay. But the easiest thing to do is just leave the whole number part off. We do not have to specify how many digits are in the whole number part if we don't want. So if we just put a % and leave that number out, it will automatically figure out how much room the number needs and format it that way. So we can specify the number of digits if we want, or we can just leave it out and we'll figure it out automatically. Let's see, what else can we do here? Let's talk about other options. Notice we did the decimal point. We can also use these other specifiers. Let me pull this slide up here. So we can use %b if we're substituting Boolean values. We can use %c if we're doing a character value. %d, we've done decimal integer. %f is for floating point numbers. We can use %e if you want to do a number in scientific notation. And you can use %s if you want to substitute a string. So that's kind of it. If you need to figure out something different, look it up on Google, take a look in your book. But D and F are the two that are probably used the most. And usually with decimals, that's where we start using the most, with picking out number of places and things like that.